So I've come to a very important realization about myself, and I need to share it with you because I think you might relate. My brain has a problem. It's not like a medical problem or anything. I'm not having seizures or seeing colors that aren't there. No, it's way more specific than that. My brain has developed what I can only describe as a completely inverted hierarchy of information. Let me explain what I mean. My brain has decided, without consulting me, that certain pieces of information are absolutely critical to retain forever, and other pieces of information, the ones that actually matter in daily life, those are disposable, temporary. Like my brain looks at them and goes, "Hey, we'll get to that later," and then never does. Here's a perfect example. I can tell you, right now, without looking it up, that Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landing than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. I know this fact. I've known this fact for years. It's just in there, taking up space, and I didn't even try to learn it. I just read it somewhere once, and my brain was like, yes, this is vital. Store this in the permanent memory bank. This is more important than, say, remembering where you put your keys, which brings me to my keys. I have no idea where my keys are right now. I'm not kidding. I put them down somewhere about an hour ago, and my brain was like, don't worry about it. We've got more important things to think about. Like, did you know that a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance? Yes, I did know that. Because my brain thinks that's crucial information. But wait, it gets worse. Because it's not just random facts. Oh no. My brain has entire categories of useless information that it prioritizes. Category 1. Historical facts that serve zero purpose in my life. Know that in 1912, there was a guy named Jim Thorpe who won 2 gold medals at the Olympics. Then, had them taken away because he played semi-pro baseball, which made him not an amateur. And then they gave them back to his family in 1983. Why do I know this? What possible use could this information have for me? I'm not a historian. I'm not writing a paper. I'm just a guy who knows this. Meanwhile, I forgot my own cousin's birthday last week. My brain's like Jim Thorpe's Olympic medals from 1912. Essential, your cousin's birthday. We'll make something up. Category 2, jingles from commercials that haven't aired in 20 years. I can sing you the entire jingle for that cereal from the 90s. You know the one. They're gonna taste great. They're gonna taste great. I don't even remember what cereal it was for, but the jingle, crystal clear. Every note, every word. Meanwhile, I can't remember the password to my own bank account. I have to reset it every single time. And my brain's like, commercial jingle from 1997. That's culture. That's heritage. Bank password. Just write it down or something. Category 3. Completely useless statistics. I know that the average cloud weighs about 1.1 million pounds. I know that. Why? What am I supposed to do with that information? Am I going to a party and someone's going to be like, quick, how much does a cloud weigh? And I'm going to save the day. No, that's never going to happen. But my brain thinks it might. My brain is preparing me for a very specific, very unlikely scenario where cloud weight knowledge is the difference between life and death. And then, of course, there's the stuff I actually need to remember. Important stuff, like appointments, meetings, people's names, directions. My brain looks at that stuff and goes, nah, we're full. We're storing the fact that honey never spoils. Did you know that honey found in Egyptian tombs is still edible? That's way more important than your 3 p.m. meeting with your boss. You think that's bad? Hold on. Let me tell you about the most embarrassing example. I was at a party once, and I met this really nice person. We talked for like an hour. And at the end of the conversation, they said, "Well, it was great meeting you." And I said, "You too? What was your name again?" And they told me. And then 5 minutes later, I forgot it again. Completely blank. But you know what I did remember? I remembered that the guy who invented the Pringles can is buried in one. His ashes are in a Pringles can. That's what my brain decided was worth keeping. Not the name of the person I just spent an hour talking to. No, the Pringles can burial fact, because that's useful. And here's the thing that really gets Mitts, not like I'm trying to remember this stuff. I'm not sitting there going, "Okay, brain, let's memorize some random facts today." No, my brain is doing this autonomously. It's like there's a little librarian in my head who's completely incompetent. Okay, they're taking all the important documents, the bills, the contracts, the schedules, and they're just throwing them in the trash. And then they're taking like old newspapers from 1923 and framing them on the wall. And I'm just standing there, watching this happen, and I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? But wait, there's more, because sometimes, just sometimes, these useless facts actually come in handy, and it's the most confusing feeling in the world. I was at a trivia night once with some friends, and one of the questions was, what is the only mammal that can't jump? And everyone at the table was like, I don't know, a whale? And I just knew. I knew it was an elephant, because my brain had stored that fact, and I said it, and it was right. And my friends were like, how did you know that? And I was like, I don't know. My brain just collects these things. And for one glorious moment, I felt smart. I felt useful. My brain's obsession had paid off. But then, on the way home, I got lost. Because I forgot how to get back to my apartment. And I had to use GPS for a route I've taken 100 times. So yeah, mixed blessings. So here's what I've started to think. Maybe my brain isn't broken. Maybe it's just optimized differently. Like, maybe in some alternate universe, knowing that a shrimp's heart is in its head is actually the key to survival. Maybe in some future scenario, remembering the entire plot of that one episode of a TV show from 2004 will save my life. Maybe my brain is preparing me for a very specific apocalypse where the only currency is obscure knowledge. Or maybe this is what I actually believe, my brain is just trying to make life more interesting. Because let's be honest, life can be pretty boring sometimes. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you repeat. But if you know that a group of crows is called a murder, that adds a little spice. If you know that carrots were originally purple, That's a conversation starter.
Ah.
If you know that the shortest war in history was between Britain and Zanzibar and lasted 38 minutes, well, that's just cool. So yeah, I forget important things. I forget names. I forget dates. I forget where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. But I know things. I know weird, random, completely useless things. And you know what? I'm starting to be okay with that, because those useless facts, they're part of who I am. They're the little pieces of trivia that make me, me. And if you're sitting here listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I know that the inventor of the microwave oven was named Percy Spencer, and he discovered it because a chocolate bar melted in his pocket, then welcome to the club. We're the people who can't remember our own phone numbers but can tell you how many dimples are on a golf ball. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. So next time you forget something important, just remember, your brain is probably busy storing something way more interesting. And that's okay. That's just how we're wired. Now go like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what's the most useless fact your brain has decided to keep? What's that one piece of information that you know for absolutely no reason? I want to know. I want to know that I'm not alone in this beautiful, chaotic, fact-filled mess.